Khalif Adams et al. In 22 SC 183572. Take roll. Mr. Stillwell, Mr. Botts, or Mr. Sharp. Mr. Sharp. This is Mr. Sharp. Good morning. All right, Mr. Williams, Mr. Steele, Mr. Adams. Good morning. All right, Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Weinstein. Good morning. All right, Mr. Huey and Mr. Matthews Sr. Good morning. All right, Mr. Nichols and Mr. Harvey. Good morning. Mr. Ryan and Mr. Williams. Good morning. All right, and Ms. Hilton, Mr. Atkins.
Good morning.
Let's see, Messrs. Brown, okay, Mr. Brown and Mr. Yelsky. Thank you. All right. Anybody else on this? Okay. All right. Okay. Also, here this morning, we are here to take up the issue of Misty Williams' motion to withdraw, and I believe that we have some other parties to just particularize or to deal with that particular issue. So, if those counsel will identify themselves for purpose of the record, we'll start out with Misty Williams.
Good morning,
Madam.
Leah Abbasi here for Mr. Williams.
Okay.
I filed a limited entry simply for the purpose of helping her today with this motion.
All right. So you're not all in. You just you're just here to represent her for this plea, this procedure alone. Is that correct?
Barely a tiny bit in. That is
okay. All right. Just want to make sure. And on behalf of the Georgia Public Defender Council, Madam.
I'm Natalie Glazier. I'm General Counsel.
All right. Good morning, Madam. Okay. So I tell you what, can I get, if I were to, can I get Misty Williams and Miss Abbasi? Can we switch spots, Mr. Weinstein, if you wouldn't mind, just for you and your client, just for a minute? Huh?
The camera.
Hold on a second. Can we not film, please, just for a second, okay? I'll tell you when, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Okay, all right. You can resume. Thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Abbasi, your client has filed a motion to withdraw as counsel pursuant to Rule 4.3 of the Uniform Superior Court Rules. I believe that, and you correct me if I'm wrong, she communicated that to or transmitted to or given that to her client. And I set this particular hearing to make this determination as to whether or not withdrawal is appropriate. So if you wish to be heard at this point in time, Madam.
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
And I'm going to mark the motion and the memorandum as the next court's exhibit in order, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
So Mrs. Williams filed her motion to withdraw from the case. I filed a memorandum in support, really setting out the legal basis here. Mr. Williams isn't filing a motion to withdraw simply she just doesn't want to be here anymore. The situation she's in has created conflict of interest which needs to be resolved in some way, shape, or form. Our first witness, and possibly our only witness we're going to call, is going to Miss Omatayo Ali. Ms.
Glazer, last name? Glazer. Ms. Glazer is here as her attorney. I had asked we invoke the rules. She's also been subpoenaed. Her position is she's the attorney. She stays in the courtroom, so we leave that to your honor.
Well, this is her counsel. Then she'll be exempt from the rule.
Yes, Your Honor.
Party. So, okay, all right. So, is that the perverse witness you're going to call?
Yep, that's
Okay, all right. Can we summon Miss Ali, please?
I think so. Yes.
Miss Ali, good morning, madam. If you please approach the witness. Once you get there, you return and face Deputy Ham to be sworn as a witness before you sit down. Good morning.
Good morning. You raise your hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give the truth, the court, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth ever? You may be seated. Can you state your first name with the little please?
First name, Amataya. Last name is Ali.
You spell both.
Spell it, please. Omotaylo. The last name is Ali with 2 L's. I.
All right. Good morning, Ms. Ali.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good.
All right, so let me start. Most basic question, where are you employed? What is your position?
I'm the executive director for the Georgia Public Defender Council.
What does that mean?
I provide oversight for the state.
Oversight for the state for what?
Public defenders.
Okay, when you say public defenders, what is the scope of your duties?
Oversight. I provide all oversight for all the public defenders' offices.
Okay, so when you say oversight, would that include making sure that indigent defendants have attorneys?
Yes.
Would that include making sure that those attorneys are doing their jobs, being effective, all of those things?
Yes.
Okay. What about the operations, the money, who needs to be paid what throughout the entire agency? Is that you as well?
I do that.
Okay. With respect to this case, do you recall what the initial, not salary, but contract price was when trying to retain attorneys for this specific case?
Right before this case, it was $3,500.
Okay.
When I got in there, we doubled it to $7,500.
Okay. Why did you double it?
Because of the market, because of the Great Resignation, because we just wanted to pay our attorneys more.
Okay. Did it have anything to do with the anticipated or expected amount of work that would be involved in this case?
That's been considered.
That was considered. Okay, so how, in that consideration, how did you figure out that $7,500 be fair compensation?
It was for the initial case. Cost of this case, right, were needed for the contract. When we started, the case was more complex than we anticipated. I doubled it and sent a letter to Ms. Williams and all the attorneys that we were going to double it and we were looking for other funding sources to compensate them.
Okay.
As you must understand, everything is based on the budget, right? We can't just get money from anywhere. So between the time that we doubled the contract, we got a letter from Ms. Williams and she demanded $211,000. I believe at that time, $35,000 upfront, $15 every month. Eventually, we settled for a contract of $55,000 a year. Every year that she's on this case, she will get $55,000.
every year she's on this case?
Mm-hmm.
So, Mr. Williams, she be paid $5,000 this month for participation in the case?
So she's paid $5,000 a month until we cap $55,000.
There we go.
And that's for a year. And then when we get to the anniversary, when we did the contract, we start all the way again until we get $55,000. So up to date, we've paid her over $60,000 for this one case.
Okay, so you are going to continue paying her the $55,000 for the year, the $5,000 per month through the year, is that right?
We're paying, yes.
Okay. Do you think that's sufficient compensation for this case? Objection, relevance. Ms. Ali is,
I'm going to overrule the objection on our case.
It is.
it is.
$55,000 a year, every year for one single case, it is.
Okay, when you say one single case, that you've tried your own cases, correct? Not lately, but of course, your 10 years as an attorney, you've tried cases,
It's
correct?
actually 34 years.
And you've tried cases in that number.
Yes, I have, yeah.
You actually were a supervisor at the public defender's office many years ago, correct?
I was.
Okay. And when you were a supervisor, it was best practice, if not required, to have a trial partner or two attorneys on a trial, correct?
Yes, but Ms. Williams was not. He's an independent contractor. We signed a contract with her and revised the contract and added more to it when she threatened that she could not make a living. We revised it. We didn't want her to go to the line of profession that she alluded to. And so now we're paying $55,000 for this case every single year she's on this case.
Okay. That $55,000 just for one case, though, you understand, you've experienced how intense trials are, correct?
Could be. Yes, ma'am.
It's a lot of work to be in a trial, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you're in a trial, when Mr. Williams is in a trial, if another judge in another county sets court, she can't just pause the trial and go there, right?
This is a contract that we signed with her, with Ms. Williams. This is a contractual issue. And what's in the best interest of the client. So it's not, I'm not sure what other businesses she has. She should know that before we sign the contract. But for us to hear from GPDC, it's not even about the contract, it's about what's in the best interest of the client. I can't tell you what Ms. Williams does on a regular basis. But at the end of the day, what can we do for this client? That's all that matters.
Okay. Have you ever spoken with Mr. Ryan?
He's not our client. He belongs to Ms. Williams. Let me explain to you the rules of independent contracting.
Please.
If you're an independent contractor, you come with the tools of the trade and you go away and you do the work. We don't supervise you. The reason why we're involved in this case is because Ms. Williams is asking to be removed again from the case. As you must understand, this is the second time. The first time she said, I really don't want to withdraw, I'm just lying to the court. And we didn't take that into any consideration because we have to do what's best for our client. And we're here again.
I know I don't understand. Then I'll overrule that objection, okay? Because you don't understand, sir. All right.
So we have made a contract. This is about Ms. Williams asking to be pulled out of her contract. And we're waiting for the contract that we made with her a few months ago.
Okay. A few months ago is when?
That will be, it's not even a year.
Okay. Close to a year though, right? March of last year is kind of when she first raised the issue, I need more money, correct?
Probably, I don't remember, but it's not a year.
Okay. But as a contractor, she does not have the same benefits and resources as someone who, say, works for the public defender's office, correct?
Help me with what benefits you're looking at.
Well, if she was at the public defender's office, it wouldn't matter whether she had other cases. In fact, she wouldn't have other cases because she would get a salary, the same salary, whether this case lasted 6 months or 6 years. She would be paid the same amount of money, correct?
That is true as an employee here.
Okay. And if she were with the public defender's office, she would have benefits, correct?
Yeah, but she doesn't work with the public defender's office. She's an independent contractor who signs a contract. And the first contract she signed, she came back and said it was not enough. We modified it and increased it tremendously to the tune of $55,000
Okay.
a year.
So, I'm sorry, you think that $55,000 a year is enough for her to support herself, her family? Objection relevance.
I'm an overruled objection.
I don't know what Ms. Williams needs. I just know as an attorney, she signs the contract. And we offered, reviewed, and modified the contract so that we could protect the client. And that's where we are. I'm not privy to what she does on a regular basis or what she needs.
Okay. Is $55,000 a year a proportionate amount of money for an attorney who is trying a high-profile case?
I wouldn't know. I've never been in private practice.
Well, I mean, in your opinion, is that enough money? Objection relevance.
I'm an overruled objection.
I don't know that I can answer that question. What's enough? What's enough? Not enough. That's quite relative. What's enough for me? Is that enough for you? I don't know.
Okay.
I just know that this is a contract. She wants to come out of her contract. And I think you need to direct your questions to that. I have no idea what's adequate for Ms. Williams or not.
Okay. But the median pay that your agency offers for an attorney out of law school, not trying a high-profile case, not qualified, for lack of a better term, to do that, that median pay is $56,858.62, correct?
I don't know that that number is correct. We have a hybrid system, so what county are you talking about? I'm not sure. I don't want to answer that question because I don't know that to be true.
Okay, you're not sure what the median pay advertised or on the job postings is?
It has a range.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you talk about Mr. Williams and trying to get out of this contract, she sent you a letter on February 5th, 2024, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that request was asking you to review the current financial situation of the case and consider a supplemental allocation. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so she didn't send you an email or a letter saying, I want to withdraw.
I'm not sure the sequence of events. I think at the point she said she wanted to withdraw.
Okay. Would it help refresh your recollection to see a copy of that letter?
I remember the letter she sent. I don't need to see the letter, but I think she did say she did want to withdraw at a point.
Okay. I'll go ahead and approach you with what has been attached to the memorandum and is marked there as Exhibit D, David. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may approach the witness.
Thank you. Please review the applicant's office and colleague. Okay. Having reviewed that, where in this letter does it say that she wants to withdraw?
Like I said, I don't know the sequence of events. I think there was another letter or some information that said she wanted to withdraw.
When?
I don't remember.
Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Okay, and didn't she send an email asking to try and talk about this and figure something out?
But we're not able to talk about it anymore. We have paid what we can pay for this case.
Okay, but you're saying she wanted to withdraw. The letter she sent you has nothing about withdrawing.
Well, if I make a mistake about how we're saying she wanted to withdraw, I thought there was a motion for withdrawal. But I'm dealing with 6-year officers. If that was a mistake, then I apologize. But if we're talking about this letter that you have in front of you, we're not able to discuss this any longer. The most we can pay for this case is $55,000 every year.
Why is that the most you can pay for this case?
Because that's what our budget will support.
Okay, when you say that's what your budget will support, what do you mean? I mean, surely you can rearrange things in your budget, right?
We're not able to. That's all we can pay for this case.
You're not able to rearrange anything at all?
We're not going to.
Everything, like, you're not going to, right?
We're not able to, Mr. Bassi. The most we can pay for this case, this is not the only independent contractor we have. We have hundreds and hundreds of them. We have a budget, and we have what we believe is reasonable. We have paid what we believe is reasonable. If Mr. Bassi cannot continue with the contract, then that's something the court will have to address. And for us, what we address after that is how to provide effective assistance of counsel for Ms. Williams. Let me share this with you. 6 months ago, when we saw that she was struggling, we asked for her to be removed so we could get someone else to do the case. She refused. We're back again 6 months later. Somewhere along the line, the welfare of this young man is in the balance. Somebody's child that needs to be protected. We cannot keep going back and forth to when we can ask the taxpayers keep asking for more money. We're not able to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to, kind of two parts. It was a long answer. I want to make sure I ask my questions. When you said you requested or asked for her to be removed about 6 months ago, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Who did you ask?
We did a motion for that.
Okay, so a motion came before the court asking?
Well, she then decided to talk about it, and somehow a new contract came up, which was substantial with what she had before, and that's where the $55,000 came up.
Okay, what does that have to do with her asking to be removed 6 months ago?
Well, the reason why I said that, if 6 months ago she knew that she was not going to be able to continue with this case, I felt she should, so that somebody else would be on this case to represent this young man. We're back again.
Okay. You felt she should have withdrawn 6 months ago, right?
I think she should have been removed from the case if she felt that she could not do it. But she's an independent contractor. She chose to stay on the case. We decided to increase the contract substantially.
Okay. So did you bring that motion before the court?
We never had an opportunity to do that, but she knew that we were asking her to withdraw from the case.
You mentioned all of this being in Mr. Ryan's best interest. Did you find out if he wanted a new attorney?
Well, you know what? You're right about that. I don't know anything about that, but I do. There was a time when Ryan asked her to be removed from the case as well.
Okay. Remember about how long ago that was?
So that would be probably, and please help this memory, probably about around the same time, maybe 6 months to a year ago.
6 months to a year ago, Mr. Ryan wanted her removed.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, you believe so. Where does that belief come from?
It was actually in one of the court hearings. Would I have an opportunity to pull that if we need to?
Okay. I want to back way up because we kind of strayed away from my original question, which was about rearranging the budget. You are unable to find money from any other part of your budget to pay the attorney?
I would object, Your Honor. We're kind of outside of the scope of the motion at this point. The motion is for Mr. Williams to withdraw from the case. I don't know about getting into how state agent budget has anything to do with that.
I'm going to overrule the objection. It has Sixth Amendment implications, so I'm going to allow her a little bit of latitude.
That's the most we're going to pay for this contract, Mr. Bassett.
Okay, so it's not that you can't, it's that you won't.
We have to abide by budget. We have to pay, put into consideration all the other costs and all the other issues that we have. The only important thing here is providing effective assistance of counsel to Mr. Ryan.
I agree.
And the question is, if we have to pay Ms. Williams, what she's demanding at that time, I think was $200 a year. This agency will not be able to do that.
Well, right now she's demanding to have a discussion, right? That's what she was asked for.
We're not going to entertain that discussion anymore. We had one 6 months ago when she indicated that she really did not want to withdraw. She asked her co-counsel to lie for her. We don't know who we're dealing with. And so if at that point she didn't want to withdraw, now she wants to withdraw, and she sent a text and said, please don't help the judge make me withdraw, I just want to get more money. What are we dealing with here?
Who is her co-counsel?
She sent that text to all the other attorneys on the case.
Who's her co-counsel?
She sent the text to all the other attorneys.
So that's the other attorneys on the case, not Mr. Ryan's attorneys.
Okay, excuse my use of English language, I'm sorry.
Okay. About the budget, how much is the agency spending on social media?
Overruled.
I don't know. We don't spend money on social media. We have two communications people in-house who do communications for us.
So no Twitter or Instagram, anything like that?
We don't spend money on those.
No. So that wasn't in your 2023 budget proposal?
To spend money on Twitter?
For social media?
I don't recall asking for money on, we hire communications people in-house, but we don't spend money on Twitter, Instagram.
Okay. What is the In the Trenches series?
Objection, relevance.
Oh,
I'm all out, Ms. Glazer. Overruled.
In the Trenches is our magazine that we have in-house, where we allow all our employees to talk to our constituents about what they do, and we do that in-house.
It was a magazine?
It's a computer information about what we do. So we film employees. We go to different places and so we can feature our employees about what they do and how they do it. And it's an in-house thing. It's not. We do it ourselves.
Okay. It's not a magazine, though. It's a video series.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You have to pay someone to take those videos, right?
No, we don't pay anyone to do the videos. Our employees, we do everything. We multitask. Everybody, we put in what we can just to make sure that the agency is run properly. But we don't pay anyone to do that. It's done by employees who have distinct and separate responsibilities. They just do that on the side for us. We don't pay.
Okay. Does the agency hire any sort of public relations firm or anything to provide that type of a service?
No, to do In the Trenches? No.
No, just in general.
No, we've had contracts for communications before, but we typically use our own employees for everything that we do.
When have you had those contracts for communications?
Objections outside the scope of this motion, Your Honor.
I'm going to overrule your objection, Madam.
I don't know what contract, I can't remember, I don't know which one you're talking about.
I don't either. What contracts have you had?
What contracts have I had?
Sorry,
Sorry, Madam, do you objection basis?
Overly broad, what kind of contracts did the agency have?
I'll say Mr. Form, you can rephrase, Madam.
I agree, I'll withdraw that. What contracts as far as communications companies?
We sometimes, instead of hiring a full-time employee, we'll do short-term contracts. So we might have done one in the past so that we don't have to hire a full-time employee for communications.
Okay, so what contracts?
So we've done some in the past for maybe $25,000 for like 6 months, a year. And that saves us money because if we have to hire an employee with the state 69% benefits, that would cost us a lot of money. So we use short-term contracts so that we can save money.
Okay, how much have you spent on those contracts?
Maximum for a year, we spent $45,000.
$45,000, okay. And you think that $45,000 is better spent on communications than, as you said, this young man who is someone's child? That's a better use of your finance?
Absolutely. We have to communicate with our employees. We have a statewide, I have a statewide responsibility. You must know, we used to work for the agency, right? We have a statewide responsibility, 60 offices all over the state. Somebody has to communicate. Okay. And so, but you know, if we didn't hire the 45,000, we'll be paying maybe 160, 200,000. So that's an attempt to save money.
Okay. So the budget you mentioned, you have to do a proposed budget to the legislature each year. Is that accurate?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. So you don't recall putting in your, I believe it's the 2023 budget, preparing for your future. There was a list of things you were doing for that, correct? GPDC is preparing for the future?
I don't recall that.
Okay. Would it help to see a copy of that budget proposal?
Okay.
Permission to approach, Your Honor?
You may, madam.
All right, I'm gonna have you scroll through this as you need to. I'm sorry, I didn't print the whole thing.
If you can print a copy for the purpose of the record, I'll include it
Yes, Your Honor, I will. It is publicly available on the internet.
as the next court exhibit in order.
This is not a budget. This is a list of achievements that we've had, that we were telling the legislators what we have done over the year. That's not a budget. We're not asking for money for that.
That wasn't a joint budget hearing?
It may be a joint budget hearing, but in the budget hearing, you tell the legislators what you have done so that they know the reason why they need to give you more money. Everything you're showing there is just a list of achievements. Then you want me to read some of it?
The one I've been interested in is, you said, you don't spend anything on social media. That is in your.
And we're not spending anything on social media. This is telling the legislators how we're preparing for the future. We're engaged in a pro bono, and Accenture gave us pro bono assessment of GPDC operations. If that's what you're talking about, we didn't pay for that. We connect with clients and public defenders all over the world. We speak to our clients about their needs. It's highlights, as you can see, of how we're preparing for the future and what we have done in preparation. These are all achievements, actually. If you want to print it out, it's like about 4 pages of it.
Okay. And specifically listed on there is new web and social media presence, right?
That's what we have been able to achieve, but we didn't pay for it. It's done in-house.
Okay.
You've never spent any money on any sort of marketing, for lack of a better word, or social media promotion, anything like that?
Once in a while, like I said to you, so that we don't have to employ a full-time employee, we will hire short-term contracts so that, 25,000 instead of 150,000. It's all about communications.
Okay. I guess I'm a little bit confused. How does this communications person, what do they do? What is that money getting you? I'm confused.
Objection, relevance to this motion, Your Honor, we're getting very far afield.
I'm gonna allow it just a little bit longer. I'm gonna leave the objection.
A communication person helps us to communicate with all our employees statewide. That's what they do. And for a big organization like ours to only have 2, you must admit that we really try to not spend a lot of money on things we don't need, on things we can do ourselves. We're a big organization. We're statewide with 60 offices, and we only have 2, actually 1.5.
Okay.
So communication is important.
Okay, so just none of that 45,000 could be reallocated.
To not have a communications person for the whole state?
Or other purposes within your agency, like representing people.
Well, we've paid for the representation. We've paid Ms. Williams $55,000 a year. By the end of this year, Ms. Williams will have made $110,000 from us.
Oh,
We think that's enough.
by the end of this year, how much will you have made?
Objection, relevance.
No, I'll allow it.
How much would I have made as a head of an agency that's 60 offices wide? How much are you making where you work?
Casali, that's not the answer to my question. How much will you have made by the end of the year?
I would have made 160 for the whole state of Georgia.
$168,173, is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and Ms. Glacier here, she makes over 140, right?
And she's in 3 different positions. She is the communication, she's overtraining. She is the counsel for the agency, and she's over litigation.
Okay.
3 different responsibilities for that, for somebody who's been practicing law for that long.
Okay. And how do those things assist Mr. Ryan?
Mr. Ryan belongs to Ms. Williams. Ms. Williams is an independent contractor. I don't think I need to explain to you the rules of independent contracting. Independent contractors come with a tool. She has a contract. We're paying on the contract. She's going to make $110,000. That's all this agency will fund for that contract. And so at the end of the day, we are not going to increase that contract.
Okay, so you are responsible for providing attorneys who are conflict-free, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Ms. Williams comes to you and says, look, I've got a problem. I'm not going to be able to continue handling this case because I can't afford it. I'm going to lose everything. Would you agree that is a conflict for her?
She's asking to breach her contracts. That's all I know.
Okay, that wasn't my question though.
Well, I can't understand your question.
Well,
if she comes to me and says I can't continue because I have a conflict, I cannot go into the conflict that she has. The only thing I can deal with is whether she's able to continue to represent this client. If she's not, then the agency has to take the next step to make sure that Mr. Ryan does have an effective, someone who can provide effective assistance of counsel.
Okay, but it's actually in the statute, conflicts of interest, 171222, that you are responsible for handling circumstances with conflicts, correct?
Not personal conflicts. It's whether the person has a conflict that will not enable them to provide effective assistance of counsel for the client, whether they represented the client. We're talking about legal conflict. We're not talking about what happened in her house in the morning or whether she's not able to do certain things at home. The code is talking about legal conflicts, not personal conflicts.
Okay. A conflict is a conflict, correct? Whether it's legal or it's personal, right?
I think in the context of a code,
I do, Your Honor. She's asking for Ms. Ali to draw a legal conclusion that's the basis of this argument.
Okay. When you determine what is or is not a conflict that you need to address, do you take a look at the Georgia bar rules?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with comment in rule 1.7 about loyalty to a client? You familiar with that?
Loyalty to a client? Mm-hmm. From the attorney?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so you would agree that a lawyer's loyalty to a client is impaired when a lawyer cannot consider, recommend, or carry out an appropriate course of action for the client because of the lawyer's other competing responsibilities or interests, right?
And that would be a question for Ms. Williams, not for me. She's the lawyer.
Right.
And to the extent that she does not think she can continue to do this case, then that's a question for the judge to determine whether she's going to be allowed to come out of this case. If the court determines that her personal issues are such that she cannot continue to provide for Mr. Ryan, even though her contract says that her representation goes beyond any termination, that's the judge's. It's not for me. The judge makes that decision. When the judge makes that decision, then it comes back to us to see how Mr. Ryan is going to have effective assistance of counsel.
Okay. So she is the best person to say whether she has a conflict, right? We agree on that?
She's an independent contractor. I don't supervise her. We don't supervise independent contractors. They come, we give them the case, and she comes with the tools. She told us she had the tools to do this case.
Okay. Told us she had the tools.
And we believed her.
When you say to do this case, what did you understand this case to entail, or that it would entail, given that spec?
This was a case that normally we would offer $7,500 for, right? And that's a double since we got here. When I saw the case was going much longer than I thought it would go because of the complexity of the case, we doubled it and promised to find more sources. The GPDC has been responsible and responsive to Ms. Williams.
Okay.
And eventually we increased the contract again.
Okay.
At this point, we're no longer able to. Whether she stays on the case or not is the judge's responsibility. I can't take that. But what's of utmost importance that we're not paying attention to here is Ms. Ryan. At the end of the day, how can we make sure that he's protected? How can we make sure that every 6 months we don't have another stunt or scheme to get more money from the taxpayers? We cannot continue to play this game. This is a game.
Bless you. What about paying her a fair hourly rate for her representation?
We had a contract. If she's no longer able to do the contract, we will respect the judge's decision.
Okay.
What's fair, not fair, what Ms. Williams needs to fund her lifestyle, what she needs to do later on with her lifestyle, I don't know. Okay. All I know is that we gave her a contract, we doubled it, we found more money. She asked us for what we at that time we thought was a little bit out of range. 200 and something thousand she demanded. That's a shame of taxpayers. We can't do that. But what's important is what's in the interest of Mr. Ryan and to make sure that he's not lost in the balance of this game.
So what have you done to try, I think you mentioned you promised to search for funds and outside, I don't want to misquote you, something about you were going to look for other funds? So you doubled the amount and said that you would continue seeking.
We will seek more funding sources to pay, and we did, and that's how we got up to $55,000.
Okay, what were those funding sources?
It's from our budget.
Okay, how about reaching out to some other agencies?
Some other agencies?
Yes. Your duties as director are outlined in OCGA 1712.5, correct?
We have a lot of consideration. We have a lot of other people to consider, so we have to balance it.
Okay.
And so we're not going to pay Ms. Williams more than $55,000 a year. As long as she's in this case. At this point, we've paid her about $60,000 for this case. That's all we're going to do. We have other consideration. It's a balancing action for me. Ms. Williams is not the only lawyer we have to pay. And so to help you with your questioning, we are not. We're going to abide by the contract. If she no longer wants to be on this contract, then that's for the judge to decide. What we do to manage the budget is not a subject for this hearing.
Have you gone to the county, like Fulton County, to see if they would help supplement or provide any additional funding?
Actually, you know what we did, and they did not. And so we found the money from the state.
Okay, when did that occur?
That was sometime last year.
Okay, and I don't have a good way to, how did you go about doing that? Or who did you contact? How did you go about seeking additional funding?
That's a good question. So I wrote letters, several letters to the county manager, to the county manager, to the deputy county manager. We went to Fulton County Court, we went to the Superior Court. We did everything to get support, to get money. Eventually, we found it in our budget to pay out that $55,000.
Okay,
So we did all of that.
so you went everywhere in the county and they just said, no, we won't provide additional money?
They did not provide the funding that we asked for.
Okay. Aren't they providing their own funding now to attorneys where your office has not appointed them in a timely fashion?
You said we have not appointed them in a timely fashion?
Yeah.
So let me correct you, because obviously, Fulton County had their own program where they were using their ARPA funds. And they said they would be able to help with their cases. And we sent them a lot of cases, and when they could not find attorneys for those cases, we took them back. We provide attorneys in a timely fashion. If you're referring to the Superior Court program, we gave them those cases because they had ARPA money that they wanted to use to fund their own backlog. Eventually, they could not find attorneys for those cases, and then we took them back. So we provide attorneys in a timely fashion. Maybe you're found another agency.
Okay, so there were people sitting in jail for months and months and months, or years even, without attorneys to represent them? Is that what you're saying?
I have no idea what you're talking about. We provide attorneys. As soon as we know them, some of these individuals that you're talking about, some of them did not ask for public defenders, but once they ask for us, we will provide attorneys for them. And I think that's totally out of the scope of your questioning.
So where, as in this case, you could find an attorney for someone, Mr. Williams, did you ask the county to assist in paying her?
Objection asked and answered.
That's my question.
I just told you, yes, we did.
You made that specific request for Mr. Williams?
No, we made a request to support, at that time, to support the 4 or 5 attorneys that were still on this case. And at that time, we made that request. Today, we've been able to find the funding to pay her what we're paying her.
Okay.
And Mr. Bassi, if this will help you, the agency will abide by this contract, and that's all we're able to do.
Okay. So when she comes to you and says, I have a conflict, how are we going to address this? How are you going to address this?
Objection calls for speculation.
I'll overrule it because this is the hardest part of the question, so the conflict. So I'm going to overrule it.
If the conflict means that she wants to breach her contract after what we're paying, then that's what I think the court has to address. I cannot address personal conflicts. Cannot.
So you cannot cure that conflict and ask the county again or look somewhere else for more money. You can't do that.
The contract that we have with Ms. Williams is what we will abide with.
So that's a no.
If that's what you say.
Okay. I know you've not spoken with him, but do you think it's in your best interest, or his best interest, for Mr. Williams to withdraw?
If she wants to withdraw.
Okay.
Yes.
How about if she doesn't want to withdraw, she wants the conflict resolved?
Not the way I don't even know what her conflict is. I have no idea what the conflict is.
No idea. When she sends this letter, I can't continue representing him because I can't pay my bills in this amount of money. You've got no idea what that conflict could possibly be.
And the money we're providing for her is all we can provide. If Ms. Williams cannot live with the budget that, the contract that we have provided, then the court has to decide whether she should be removed from the case, not whether we should go find her another $200,000 for this case.
Okay.
We're just not gonna do that.
So I'm sorry if I already asked this. You believe Mr. Williams is currently being fairly compensated, is that right?
Objection asked and answered.
I stand.
I think I've answered you
Okay.
the question.
All right. So kind of in totality, we've not really come up with a plan to cure Mr. Williams' conflict. What I'm hearing you say, correct me if I'm wrong, is kind of, this is what she agreed to. This is what we're sticking with. Kind of, she made her bed, she can lie in it. Is that about right?
This is the contract that she signed. This was the funding that the state put towards that contract. This is the decision for the court to decide whether she's going to be let out of the case. And at the end of the day, our responsibility is to make sure that Mr. Ryan's interest is being protected.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question, Ms. Ali.
Yes, sir.
How is Mr. Ryan's interest protected if she withdraws?
We will find another attorney for him, sir.
Do you think that that wouldn't create a Sixth Amendment ineffective assistance of counsel issue?
I don't believe so, sir. We have looked at the files and everything that's been done in this case. We believe we can find him another attorney.
So do you know whether or not Mr. Ryan has actually acquiesced in allowing Ms. Williams to withdraw?
Well, Your Honor, the
Because it's
issue,
required as part of the rules. Have you all inquired into that?
the issue here is how much the state and this agency can pay Ms. Williams. And Ms. Williams, like according to her last demand, was $211,000. If we cannot afford it, then it becomes a different issue.
Okay, well, your contract aside, okay, and I'm certainly not trying to interfere with that. But if Ms. Williams withdraws and you say you're in a position to appoint another lawyer, you're going to pay that lawyer, right?
The same amount of money, sir.
$55,000?
Yes, sir.
So how come you couldn't just renegotiate with her and go ahead and extend that particular issue? Just extend this contract?
We will continue to pay her the same $55,000. We're committed to that. We'll pay $55,000 a year. By the end of this year, it will be $110,000 that we would have paid her. We're committed to that.
Okay, so let me see if I understand it correctly. So you pay her $5,000 a month, so she'll get paid $5,000 a month through the end of this year?
Once it's capped at 55, gets to the anniversary of her engagement with us, we start it all over again.
Okay, when's she gonna run out of? When she basically is the $55,000 gonna be exhausted?
I am not sure. I believe we paid her right there about $60,000.
We don't have a cap on the contract. It's a yearly cap of $55,000, but if it goes on for 5 years, we would continue paying $55,000 a year.
Is there any delay in payment in terms of, like, for example, if I exhaust the $55,000, would I go for several months without pay until my new contract kicks in or the anniversary date kicks in? How does that work?
I believe it would be 1 month without the $5,000 because it's $55,000 for the year. So I think it's 11 months of $5,000 payments. The payments have pretty much been every month except for at the beginning because of the way that we spread out. We paid the $15,000 that she got. It was deducted from the way that the contract works. So I believe that there's 1 month that she wouldn't be paid and then it starts over again.
Okay. I'm sorry I hijacked you.
That's okay. You're familiar with the contract. As you said, it renews yearly, annually?
She just explained the contract.
Okay.
That's the contract she just explained to you.
If I show you a copy of that contract, can you show to me where it says it's going to renew?
I believe she has it, and it's explained with examples of how we pay. It's going to renew.
Okay, but this contract we're relying on says $5,000, this is starting last year, April, and every other month thereafter until the cap of $55,000 is reached or the trial ends, right?
Yeah, and if the trial doesn't end,
Yeah.
then we start it all over again.
There's nothing in here though about
Okay.
it starting over.
Okay, yes, ma'am. So it renews, and we know it's in there, and if that helps Ms. Williams to stay on the case, fine. If that doesn't, agency is not willing to not abide by the
Can I
contract.
see the contract?
Yes, Your Honor,
Or
absolutely.
is the or disjunctive in the sense of, since if the trial's not over, she's still gonna get paid, Ms. Ali?
As long as this trial is going, we will continue to pay her.
And Your Honor, in addition to this contract, we did have a policy that was passed by the council that indicates that it's a $55,000 a year cap in cases that last that long. And so I believe that that policy would be read in conjunction with this contract as well.
All right, can we get a copy of this as part of the record, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and what was the policy? You said, Ms. Glazer, there's a policy, because this paragraph, compensation for services, in pertinent part you all just referenced, says that she's paid $5,000 April and every month thereafter until the cap of 55 is reached or the trial ends. So
Yes, Your Honor, we could look and provide for the court the copy of our policy with the council that was passed just in light of this particular case, as well as any emails that might support. I think the intent of the contract is that it was a yearly cap of 55,000. Whether or not that's clear in the contract or not, that is.
yeah, it's or would indicate to me that the court just on construction would be that is that you get $55,000 until the cap is reached or the trial ends. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get renewed. It just says that you're capped at $55,000.
And Your Honor, if that is the principal problem with Ms. Williams staying on the case, we can put that in writing that was not the intent, was for her to not be paid for the next year.
I mean, because that's the whole issue. She's thinking, okay, well, I'm done. I'm not going to get paid any more money. If it was you all's intent to start the contract over again, I think that's, that would be certainly something that's material. But I'll let you all talk about that if you like.
I'm just about done.
Okay.
So when Mr. Williams sent her, whatever you want to call it, request for more money back on February 5th, 2024. Why didn't you just tell her we're extending your contract?
We're not extending it, we're abiding by the contract. The contract will renew at the appropriate time when we get to a year. So that contract is going to renew. We're not extending the contract. The contract is dependent on how long this case goes.
Okay,
So we can't
let
extend
me
it.
interrupt for a second, but if you look at paragraph 3, I'm going to hand it to you. And just from a contractual plain meaning of the contract, that's where I think you all have the challenge, because it doesn't say it renews and it doesn't indicate it. You all have imputed some other understanding in there that maybe Mr. Williams didn't know about it. You all didn't kind of make clear in the contract.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm hearing.
And that could be an issue, Your Honor, as far as the actual contract. When this contract was written, it was in the time surrounding where we had the policy by the council and a lot of emails going back and forth between all parties. And so our understanding was that Mr. Williams understood that this was a $55,000 per year cap. If that is the basis of this motion, then maybe we can clear that up. But our understanding was that it would renew. It was a $55,000 per year cap.
All right. Mr. Beasley, do you want to take a minute and talk with your client and see if that's the issue, or I'm up to you.
I can, Judge. I have just one remaining question. So when she emailed you on February 12th saying, I have a few questions, is GPD's position that $55,000 is enough money for this uniquely situated trial? Or is GPD saying they don't have more money or won't look for more money? Why didn't someone just write back and say your contract is renewed?
Because at this time, the last time Ms. Williams said, I don't know what to do with Ms. Williams, to tell you the truth. The last time she said, I really don't want to withdraw, she sent a text that became viral. I'm just telling her, I'm just looking for a way to get more money. Unless something goes to court, I don't know that I want to engage with Ms. Williams because I don't know when it is a lie and when it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
The text that became viral, how did it become viral?
I have no idea, but have you seen it?
I have,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, did she write it?
Well, I don't know. I've just seen the one conveyed by Miss Gina Bernard, who worked for your agency.
Okay. Where did she write the text?
I don't
I don't know who whether Miss Gina Bernard sent it, and I think you need to be careful with that because we don't know how it became viral.
Okay.
But it was written by Miss Williams and saying, don't help me to get a withdrawal. I really don't want to withdraw. I just want to get more money. And so I'm getting another email from her. Is it the truth or is it something different? But the crux of this is not the text or what she wrote. The question is, did she understand that the contract renewed? She did because they had a conversation about it. Does she still want to stay on the case? It's up to the court. If the court says she does not stay on the case, what does GPDC do to make sure that Mr. Ryan, who in the past had asked for her to be removed, can we get another attorney for him? We will. Have we looked at the record to see what she's done? We have.
Okay. When you said she understood it because they had a conversation about it, who's they?
With Ms. Glazier and an attorney that we had at that time. There was a conversation, and if Ms. Williams, if she can case because she knows that it news, then we welcome her to. If she's asking for money beyond the $55,000, we are not going to be able to entertain that.
Okay. If I may speak with Mr. Williams for a moment, Your Honor.
Okay, all right.
Your Honor, Mr. Williams would be all right with the contract renewing if GPDC is committing to it renewing. there. Mr. Williams is obviously the only attorney who is the only attorney. Everyone else has 2, if not 3 attorneys. They've got more than 2 decades of experience. I don't know, but I assume Mr. Williams is the only one taking home and washing her client's clothing. So we will be likely making an appeal to the GPDC that she would need a little bit extra help to continue representing Mr. Ryan. If they will not do that or will not turn to the county to do that, we will go from there. But she will accept the renewed $5,000 a month with the increase.
All right. First, Ms. Glazer, do you have any questions, or do you want us to, or do you want me to pause for a second so you can go outside and talk with your director? Whatever you'd like to do, madam, is all right with the court.
Your Honor, I don't have any questions, Ms. Ali, as far as the negotiating the contract. We're happy to provide the court with an updated version of the contract that makes clear what the original intent is. As far as negotiating further terms, I don't believe we're in a position to do that this morning.
And they may not necessarily be something I can take up at this point in time. It all depends on the facts and circumstances. But I tell you what, I'll let you all have a few minutes and see if you can work out something in terms of the base, I think, misunderstanding. And we'll see what we can, if you all say you've got an agreement, then that will, I can make a ruling on this, okay?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, so I'm just gonna be in recess about maybe 5-10 minutes, and then you all let me know, okay?
Thank
All right, we're in recess. confer and if there's some decisions been made. I'll entertain those at this point in time.
Yes, Your Honor. And I'm going to ask, immediately stop me if I say something which is incorrect. The adjustment to the contract, new contract, whatever you would like, the terms of payment will be $5,000 a month through the duration of the trial. Now, if this trial ends in a mistrial and you're going to schedule another one, at the end of this trial, Mr. Williams will be withdrawing. So if there's going to be a whole nother one, new attorney, that's on them. But for the duration of this trial will be $5,000 a month. Did I get that right?
Yes, Your Honor, we still, would want her to formally go through the process of withdrawing as an attorney would. We are just telling her that, typically our expectation with any private attorney is that they stay with the case throughout the duration of the case, regardless of if there's a mistrial, that they would stay on. We understand in her particular circumstances, we're not going to object or have any issue with her withdrawing once this trial is completed, if that's what she wants to do and her client's okay with that.
Yeah, of course, there's some other variables that need to be addressed. So we can cross that bridge when if we get to it.
And go ahead. There was one other thing that Ms. Glazer and I were discussing that we've given you what we agree upon today.
Okay.
One thing that's still discussing is, as in statute, DPDC can come to the county and ask for additional money. That for perhaps some of the parts of the trial where it would be extremely beneficial for Mr. Williams to have another attorney with her, if the GPDC at that point would be willing to ask the county to step in. And it would be up to you all. You said, no, yes, no, that's up to you guys, but they would ask for that. And we've not been able to agree upon whether they would be willing to make that we will request portion of the agreement.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly look at that. That's, of course, through Superior Court Administration. And it's not in the realm of a reality for an ask, because as you all pointed out, Mr. Williams is the only attorney on representing Mr. Ryan, and that poses some challenges in and of itself. And this case has gone on a while, and it's not a marathon. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So yeah, so you do need to I could see some situations where it would be helpful for her to have some support. Okay. So, if that's something you all wish to explore, we certainly, from the Superior Court side of the administration, we'll certainly see what we can do to facilitate that.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I will tell you, Your Honor, that we were just saying we're not committing to anything as far as that wasn't something that we had resolved necessarily. We are going to have a separate conversation with Mr. Williams after court as far as what support we could potentially provide outside of what we're agreeing to today.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that's just an additional thing we are discussing. We have put on the record what is agreed upon.
So what you have agreed upon, just to make sure I understand, is that you will reform the contract to reflect your understanding that it's $55,000.
We're actually going to pay additional. We're going to have it be worth $5,000 a month regardless. So it will actually be, I think, at $60,000 instead of cap, just so that there's no disruption of payment. We want to make sure that she continues to be paid. So we are going to reform the contract to make it clear what the original intention was, but to make sure she is paid that $5,000 every month.
And then there's a renewal, and you include the renewal provision that.
It will be through the duration of the trial.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that you'll make it clear.
Yes.
As to the understanding of both parties.
And when that contract is agreed and reached, we will provide it to the court and ask that it be made an exhibit, part of the court's exhibits.
All right. Okay. Well, in terms of if you all have come to an agreement, then I will certainly at this point in time, I'll deny the motion to withdraw. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Ms. Glazer and Ms. Abbasi, can you all have me a suitable order, I'd say by next Friday? Y'all think you could do that for me?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Then unless there's any other business, we'll be in recess. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
honestly, this whole time, we thought you got that. The council, unless you understood it.